everything that I know says I gotta go, tired of going solo. But I'm never gonna go there again. This is what it is, this is who I am, this is where I finally take my stand. I didn't want to fall, but I don't have to grow. I'm not the one with two star hands, giving him the best of everything that's left of the life inside this man. I've been born again.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's the racist. The racism is reversed today.
Yeah.
And what's sad is white people have bought into the whole idea that they are the racist.
Mm-hmm.
It drives me nuts.
White guilt, huh?
White guilt, again, another theme in this book.
Yep.
Seriously, I don't say this lightly. If anybody is watching this, you need to pick up this because that's what I deal with. And I mean, that's the real theme of this, that the great sin is not racism. It's how racism has been used to foster guilt.
Yeah, it's a weapon, isn't it?
It's a weapon. And that unless you forgive, that forgiveness is the key. And until we forgive, and not just forgive others, we have to forgive ourselves, forgive our ancestors. That's the key. And until that happens, no one is free. No one will see rightly. Mm-hmm. And that's what I had to do. I went through that. I when I first became a believer, man, it was rough. I mean, God had to really deal with me on that whole deal.
Yeah.
And a few years later, it happened again. Yeah, about 10 years later, I went through another phase where I had to, once it was started coming back upon me. And I'll tell you what, I'll just share this real quickly. Carlton Pearson just died recently.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was in Atlanta. This what, 20 years ago? Yeah, probably 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 30. I don't know. 20, 30 years ago, I was in Atlanta at a gospel GMA.
Yeah.
Not GMA. Not GMA. Not Gospel Music Association. What is the booksellers? What do you call it? CBA.
Okay.
Christian Booksellers Association.
That now makes sense.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, I was at their big convention, their big meeting, and it was in Atlanta. And this friend of mine, he was a songwriter and worship leader and everything. He had been early on involved at the Vineyard.
Okay. And
he'd worked for some other Christian ministries out in. We met at Melody Land Christian Center out in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where you went to seminary.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then he ended up working for Gene Scott.
Oh, man. I miss that guy. Get a bowl of popcorn, man. I want to know that
with the little monkeys on the stage. He had all the little wind-up monkeys on the stage.
And the cigar. Now, Gene Scott was a professor at Oral Roberts University.
Yeah, he was a very educated theologian. I mean, he probably knew the word. I mean, he was very sound, but he was a little bit.
Oh, he lost it.
Yeah, he lost it. Anyway, so he worked for Gene Scott, and Gene really ruined the man. But anyway, he ended up after that, he went to the Vineyard, and he was involved in ministering to Bob Dylan when he got saved at the Vineyard, and Keith Green and all. But anyway, from there he moved to Atlanta, and my friend allowed the bitterness of race to creep into his heart.
Yeah, it'll do that.
So I'm there at Christian Booksellers, and he and Carlton, they knew each other, and they got together, and I'm sitting there listening to these two, and they start talking about just race and how white people this and it just very negatively about white Christians and white this and right and how they just had this real issue with the white church and white Christians, and I'm thinking, this is weird. Because if it weren't for white Christians in the white church, they wouldn't even be there. In other words, nobody would know who these guys were. Mm-hmm. And then later seeing, their ministries, in other words, they went from where they were and their ministries continued to dwindle.
Yeah.
And drift.
Yeah, bitterness will do that to you.
Well, yeah, but not only that. My friend died earlier this year of cancer. Mm-hmm. I got to see him. I flew to Atlanta to be with him a few weeks before he died. Mm-hmm. I spent a week with he and his wife. And then Carlton just died of cancer. Mm-hmm. Both of them died. And I have to believe that a part of it is this unforgiveness. And I went to be with my friend to tell him, that you got to let this root of bitterness go. Mm-hmm. And this may be a message for some of you out there that are watching. And if you have friends or anyone who is holding on to this bitterness, I'll tell you, a brother that is probably one of the least heralded in the Christian music scene, but to me, probably saved my life, my spiritual life.
Tell me.
Don Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
Wrote the song He's Alive.
Yeah.
I did a little tour. He was by himself, came to Germany, and Don and I just drove around Germany to military bases and little German ministries. Wasn't big things, just little. And so, he and I drove around for probably 2-3 weeks, ate together, stayed together in hotels. And at that time, I had been burned by this German promoter. Mm-hmm. Just left me with
the entertainment industry has some characters, don't they?
Oh, yeah. But anyway, and I was wanting to sue the guy. Mm-hmm. And Don, after probably about a week, Don one night says, Eddie, I've been praying about you in this situation with this promoter. He said, I've just got to tell you, he says, you got to let it go. Yeah. You got to let it go. I know it's hard, but it will eat you up. Yeah. God has just shown me you just got to let it go and trust him. And man, I think about that, but I don't want to let it go.
That's right. I like my bitterness.
Yeah, I don't want to let it go, And he said, I know. He said, but you got to let it go and just learn. And so after I prayed and I said, oh, Lord, I guess, okay, I better let it go. But I don't know what Don's, I haven't stayed in touch with Don, but I wonder what he's doing because I'll tell you, he was a very, very unusual guy.
A great ballad writer.
Oh, unbelievable. Dolly Parton recorded He's Alive.
Yeah.
And won a Grammy for it.
Was she wearing her Dallas Cowboy cheerleader?
I don't know, man. Come on.
No,
let's not go. Let's just leave it. But I'll tell you, the first time I ever saw him, okay, he was doing a concert in El Paso, Texas. This was probably 79, 80. He was doing a concert, and I came, and I'm late, and I'm in the last row of this place, or some sitting there, and I'm up there watching the opening act, and I may have told this story. Anyway, this guy comes in later than me, and he sits down next to me, and he was fidgeting. He was all nervous, and, like had jeans, tennis shoes, and some kind of work shirt on or something, And the guy was really nervous, and I said, man, what's with this guy? I wonder if I should go pray for him. I was thinking, Lord, I think I better go pray for the guy. And then I look over and he was gone. And then next thing I knew, now Don Francisco, and it was him. He's the guy I wanted to go pray for, and it was Don Francisco.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was the first time I'd seen him. We didn't meet or anything, but because he was, just there for me. He just wanted to come in. He was there, and I guess he was nervous because he was going to come up,
Sure.
But man, I'll tell you, every time he sang, even on this thing, this tour that we went on, you know, it was probably, I don't know, there were probably 200-300 people, just small dates. But I'll tell you what, the most powerful ministry. I mean, just him and a guitar, just one guy and a guitar. There are two people that I've seen with just a guitar and a microphone in their ministry. It's Don and Sandy Patty. And Sandy Patty is just not a guitar, but it was a piano. She had a piano accompanist and her. And at first I thought, oh, this is going to be boring. You know, I was mad because, you know, she made me spend this money for extra lights. I had an attitude. I'm thinking, oh, you know, what do you need all these lights for? It's just you. You know, I'm thinking, you know, typical prima donna entertainer. You know, man, after the show, I thought, thank God they made me get the extra lights because it was one of the most incredible, still today, it's one of the most incredible I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. And she is a person, and her ex-husband, sadly, at the time. They were two of the nicest people I've ever met in ministry.
Yeah, I remember at the time, Fred Gage, who used to work with, you know, knew him well. It just crushed him to see that. And Sandy's had a lot of struggles, mental health again. She and her now husband live over here in Oklahoma City now. And but yeah, what a gifted woman. Yeah.
I have a funny story too. So I'm at GMA, Gospel Music Association. So I'm staying in this hotel way where the things were going on, but I'm way up at like
in the penthouse,
15th floor under the penthouse or whatever. But I did have access to that floor. But anyway, so I'm coming down and this hit like the 8th floor. This couple gets on and I'm saying, hey, and they just. I may have told this story, but anyway, they kind of snubbed me and stood over to the side. And now I look at it. All of a sudden, hit like the 6th floor, and there's Sandy Patty and her husband. And all of a sudden, this couple looks at each other. There's Sandy Patty. You know, they're all excited. But Sandy and her husband, they see me, Eddie. They run up and, you know, and Sandy's hugging me and everything, you know. And this couple's just like, they want to, you know, meet Sandy Patty, of course, but Sandy's busy talking to me, you know, and then hit like the 3rd floor. Oh, we'll see Eddie. Bye. Boom, boom. They dash out. And I was just thinking, you know, if that couple had been nice and had been talking to me, they'd have been able to meet Sandy Patty. Oh, by the way, Sandy, they said, oh, hi, you know. But because they were all snob, they never got to meet Sandy Patty. You know, I mean, it was just one of those poetic justice moments.
Absolutely.
You know? It was just funny. But anyway, she was wonderful. But getting back to the point, rabbit chasing again. But anyway, no, back to the original thing. She was wonderful. But Don Francisco, just on one-on-one, learning to meet this guy, very intense person, very intense. I mean, you talk about, you know how artists can be.
Oh, yeah. The Joni Mitchell kind of focused on you.
Yeah, just very intense people and very kind of seem almost hard to reach, whatever.
Yeah, lost in their own world while they're on stage.
But even in society, just almost don't fit in. Or kind of just, but very, very spiritual guy, godly guy. I mean, and like I said, I will never, ever forget that experience of being able to travel with this guy.
Yeah.
And very serious guy. He just, I mean, he lived in Colorado, lives out in Boulder. But Jerry, just, and like I said, I owe a lot to him. He taught me that. And going back again, I have to wonder if Carlton and my other friend, who both died of cancer this year, some of that root of bitterness.
Yeah.
Black men who had this bitterness, if that wasn't a part of what ate at them, and that's what a lot of cancer is bitterness and not letting go of something.
Yeah.
And but they expressed it, and I don't think they ever let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I was there, it came out, and I remember going with his wife downtown Atlanta, and we went by Ebenezer Baptist Church, which is where Martin Luther King's dad, Junior's dad, senior and junior, but that's where his dad's church, and now the Senator Warnock was the pastor, the one that Herschel Walker and my friend's wife was taking me down there to get some holistic medicine or something. And so I said, oh, there's Ebenezer Baptist. That's where the Warlock pastors. No, you mean Pastor Warnock? Nah, he's a warlock. And she was just getting mad, but I could see that she, and it was so sad because they were such godly people. Just
this
wonderful.
Is Carlton's wife.
No, not Carlton, my friend.
Oh,
my friend who passed away.
Okay.
I mean, they were such wonderful, godly people. The worship. I don't know if you ever heard. It's on Maranatha. One of the Maranatha 4. I don't
the
think
praise albums.
Yeah, but it was probably 6. The song is "Shield About Me." Thou, O Lord, our God, your shield around about me. Anyway, he wrote that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, how did you get so corrupted in your thinking that you can't, because everything is so black oriented. They hate. I mean, I don't just can't accept, but literally hate Donald Trump, and accept everything the Democrats and Warnock and everything the Democrats throw at you. And I'm thinking, man, what has happened to you?
Okay, so
I didn't get any arguments. I didn't feel it was the time, but I
right.
did gently wanted to share. You got to let some of this stuff go.
Because you're talking about a time 10 years after you threw off the root of bitterness, that you had to deal with it again and throw it off again.
Yeah.
Okay. And these people you talk about, Carlton, listen, when I first came to Tulsa, and it was a struggle for me. Financially, I was destitute, had to work a full-time job, pay my tuition cash every month as I go. But I remember the first time I even heard of Carlton, he was doing a TV special. B.J. Thomas was on it. But Carlton came on to preach, and he just said a scripture from the Psalms that just changed everything for me. He said, the psalmist David said, I was young and now I'm old, yet I've never seen the righteous forsaken.
Yeah, Psalm 37.
And it I was watching it sitting on the floor because I had no furniture. I've got my little $15 TV set that I bought at a garage sale. I'm hearing it. He says that. I literally am sitting up, I fall back. The power of it just hit me, and I was like, God was using it to say, I'll take care of you, David. And so Carlton Pearson has ministered God's grace and God's abundance to so many people. The bitterness that can overtake him, and it's sad because it's contagious. Carlton's daughter was on a reality TV show, and she got to tell her story, and most of it, and this could be the editing of the network, was replaying all the bitterness of Carlton that his daughter's carrying on.
Yeah.
It is contagious. But then there's also the rest of us. Just because somebody has gone a direction that you don't approve of doesn't mean you can't hang on to the good things that they've done in your life. I told you, I gave my life to Christ after listening to John Todd, who's one of the biggest phonies and liars. But God is able to use it. As Apostle Paul says, whether it's out of bitterness or jealousy, Christ is preached, and therein I rejoice.
That's true, because I remember in YWAM we would have, it was so diverse, and one of our good friends, in fact we were getting ready to go see them in Tennessee, but we were one day kind of making fun of Ernest Ainley. You know Ernest?
Oh, the British.
No, he's American.
No,
He's
this thing is.
I think he's out of Florida. Okay. But anyway, he's a little bitty guy.
Okay, that's
and he used to say, he would cast out demons, and he was one of these
deliverance ministers.
Right. And, Mother, do you smoke?
Well, see, that's the accent that's talking about. I assume he is British.
Mother, do you smoke? And and then he'd gently, and he'd have people come up on stage, and one of his favorites was the demon of nicotine.
Yeah.
He said, "You foul demon of nicotine, come out of her!" And then he'd slap him upside the head, and she'd fly across the stage, and they'd catch her, and we were kind of making fun of that, and this friend of mine, he just got really serious, and you need to quit that. Right? He just got real serious and kind of upset. He said, "I got saved watching him on TV." And we said, whoa, and it made us realize that God can reach people in numerous ways.
Yeah.
And my friend got saved. And another one, now, I think we talked about Shambach.
Yeah.
My dad and I went to see Shambach, and I really never really had a problem with him because I thought he was one of the most honest guys.
Yeah. He's blue collar too.
Yeah, and so we had a guy come work with us in YWAM who actually worked with Shambach, and we asked him what was it like. He said he was truly one of the most godly guys he'd ever known. He was just country from East Texas, and he said there was never anything shady about it. He was who he was, and it was kind of refreshing because the way the Christian evangelist world is, you're always suspicious. You're always kind of, and I've gotten to the point, I'm not like that anymore. I don't, like, for example, now I'm at the point where I get upset at the people who are always picking at Joel Osteen. And I find that most of them, personally, I think, most of them are just people that are envious of Joel Osteen.
Yeah.
They don't actually have anything legitimate to that biblically you can actually point at. They just don't like the fact that he has a lot of money. He has a beautiful wife. He has a beautiful life. And what really helped me too, a guy that I went to college with, he was a football player at Tech. And he was a fraternity brother. He was an elder at the church, and he passed away. And I went to his funeral over in East Texas, and in Palestine. And one of the pastors came and did the funeral there, and just seeing the ministry, and they talked about my friends. Work there at the church and what all they did. And they talked about all the different, and what people never see is what all goes on at Lakeland Baptist Church, or Lakeland Church, I guess it is now, just Lakeland Church, or Lakewood, I'm sorry, Lakewood, but the drug ministry they have. They have a counseling ministry for people with mental issues. They have homeless ministry. They have ministry for widows. They have what is it? My daughter does
crisis
pregnancy ministries. You name it. They have all of these ministries that they're truly helping everybody and everything. And it's just crazy that the way they are continually attacked. Joel does not take any money from the church. All the offerings and everything go directly into the ministry of the church. His money comes from the books.
Yeah, the media stuff.
The media stuff, and when he goes out and does his meetings. Well, what's wrong with that? I mean, really, seriously, is he supposed to, what's the old saying? They used to say that most of the congregation says, you keep them humble, Lord, we'll keep them poor.
Yeah.
You know,
The old church deacon prayer.
yeah. You keep them humble, we'll keep them poor. And I hate that. You know, I've never been envious of people being successful. It's just not me. I'm just thankful for what I have. Mm-hmm. And I'm always saying, Lord, if you want to give me more, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when I see somebody make it, I said, man, even like, I'll go local. We have this man here, people locally will know George Kaiser.
Yeah.
I call him George Jr. As to George Soros, who's the big guy. But Kaiser, he's got several billion. He's probably up into 20 or 30 billion now. It was 18 billion last time I saw. But anyway, I don't begrudge the guy. I don't like his politics or anything, but I don't begrudge him. And the way he got his money, I don't know if you ever know the story of how he got BOK.
Oh, yeah.
It's ingenious.
He was the only one that got that deal. It was the federal government, really.
Right. And I mean, it seems like I can't believe he was able to pull that off. Mm-hmm. But when I looked at it, I thought, this is crazy how he was able to pull this off. Mm-hmm. But I didn't get angry because it was legal. Yeah. It seems like it shouldn't have been legal, but because it was legal, it was legal. So all I can say is, go get him, George. Mm-hmm. That somebody has the intellect and the chutzpah, as the Jews would say, to do it. Mm-hmm. And he pulled it off and did it. And now he's got Bank of Oklahoma, Bank of Colorado, Bank of Dallas, Bank of Arizona, or Bank of Phoenix, whatever it is. But he was able to do this. Mm-hmm. So I have that attitude. But you have the people on the other side with Donald Trump being able to pull his deals in New York in a similar fashion, mm-hmm. which take nothing but guts mm-hmm. to pull off. But they're totally legal. Yeah. But now they're trying to say that, we mm-hmm. can't allow this.
Yeah, there's no victim, but it's still a crime.
But it's a crime, exactly. And his deals are as legal as the ones that George Kaiser and I'm sure that Soros has pulled off.
No, the Trump thing is far more legal because Trump wasn't taking federal money for what they're trying to go after him now in New York City for. What really bothers a lot of people in their anger should be more at government officials who set up programs for the, quote, too big to fail or the big boys. You take even, and I was upset with Dewey Bartlett, mayor of Tulsa, because we had this program that Costco mm-hmm. tapped into.
Right.
But you and I don't get that deal when we open a business.
Right.
Costco got to keep all their city sales tax dollars for a certain amount of time. From day one, you and I got to pay sales tax fully.
What's the supermercado? Mm-hmm. The Mexican supermarket. There's one on 21st.
21st and Garnett.
Garnett. Right? And then, but remember the one that there was a safe, was it safe Albertsons or Albertsons, yeah.
Oh, Peoria and Pine?
Right. And it closed down. It was closed for several years, but they wanted somebody to open it. So they got the guy that owns the supermercado to do it, but they gave him, I think, $12 million to do it. And he did it for 6 years, I think.
Yeah, lost money,
and he finally said no. And then but it was tax-free money. They guaranteed his money, that. So he didn't really lose money. The store was losing money, but he came out okay because he got this $12 million advance.
Right.
But then people are whining up there because, they gave him this money.
Right.
But yeah, you gave it, but he ended up losing and he wanted to get out of there before he started losing money. But that's why he's a businessman. He's not in the business to lose money. I mean,
well, in George Soros, George Kaiser, actually, I'll get into the solar business when Obama gives him Solyndra.
Yeah.
Once he runs out of other people's money,
right,
he's smart enough to shut the doors.
Right.
So here's my problem. In Governor Stitt, you got to own this one. You're right when you say that it's racist for non-tribal entities, other ethnicities, when we say, no, you can't be a casino. We're only allowing these ethnic organizations to have casinos. And it really is the legislature that set it up that way, but the governor's trying to reform that. And yet, he's building these same programs like for Canoe, Panasonic, all these big companies come in and get these special breaks that you and I can't get. Right. The little guy doesn't get them, only the big guy. And that's where I see some hypocrisy from Stitt. Don't practice that which you're condemning. That's hypocrisy.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the problem nationally. Mm-hmm. I mean, it goes back to de Tocqueville. De Tocqueville was like a prophet, really. Mm-hmm. He came and said that American democracy was the most unusual form of government he's ever seen. Mm-hmm. And he said he loves it. It's a wonderful thing, but he doesn't see that it could ever succeed, that eventually he feels it will die, because once the people who feel that they can legislate their own
taking other people's money,
that it'll kill it, and that's what's happened. That they will retain power by promising people things, and that's how they will do it. They will basically give promises to the people in exchange for giving them power and money. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happened. And instead of doing things as the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence were intended. Mm-hmm. And this brings me to another thing. It gets kind of into a philosophical idea. The founders were all basically pretty wealthy men, the original, George Washington, Ben Franklin. These were all the intellectuals and people of means.
Yeah, the signers of the Declaration, right?
Right, the signers of the Declaration and the writers of the Constitution. Very, very intelligent and well-to-do people. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, the people we have running the government today are not.
No.
You've got some pretty ignorant.
Fetterman?
AOC?
Yeah. Or decrepit Finstein. Just say yes. Just vote yes.
And then you got the squad in general.
Oh, yeah.
And these people with have no intention at all of furthering the nation. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with the betterment of the nation as a whole. Mm-hmm. It's me and mine, us and ours. And particularly, I hate to do this because people always think I'm a race traitor. I'm not. I'm not a race traitor. I am a nation first person.
Yep.
I am the whole, because as the whole prospers, so do we as individuals. Mm-hmm. I am not going to favor the black community over the white community. Mm-hmm. I do not favor the white community over the black community, the Hispanic community, the Asian community. As one, I see us as one. I don't see a white community. I don't see a Hispanic or an Asian. I see a community. And if one hurts the whole, they got to go. Mm-hmm. It's got to stop. And so that's how I see it. And we've got too many people up there that only see me and mine. And that is what's killing us. And then you've got other people that are sitting over here that I'll give you and yours what you want to better me and mine. And a problem with them is me and mine is me and my family, like our president. Ingratiating his family.
Yeah, the crime family.
The crime family to the detriment of the nation.
Yep.
And I can't stand that.
Yeah.
That makes me mad.
What you said about, quoting to Tocqueville, well, Davy Crockett is considered to be a legendary American leader, but at one time was a member of Congress representing a district in Tennessee, made some very unpopular votes. One of which was they wanted to give a pension to the widow, destitute widow of a former military officer. And on principle, he said, look, I will pitch in what little money I have. I'll get, and I encourage the rest of you, and let's take care of it. But we don't have the moral right to take from the taxpayer by force to support this person. Or as Will Rogers said, I remember a time when a liberal was generous with his own money. Yeah. But Davy Crockett got run out of office. Populism is not always a good thing. Just principled, liberty, conservative, just believing constitutional rights here. Crockett abandoned his U.S. citizenship and went to Mexico, basically, or property Mexico called Texas. Mm-hmm. He died trying to liberate Texas.
Right.
So we can learn something from this. If you honor and respect the man Davy Crockett, honor and respect what he stood for. That's, to me.
No, you're right. That's exactly right. That has, well, I'm going to say has got to happen, but the chances are so slim these days. It's just, see, everybody, what's happening in the United States now, an American vision is seen as too small. Mm-hmm. You've got these people that want to have a world vision. Globalism. We are world citizens. And all that really means is that we want a piece of a bigger pie. Mm-hmm. Somebody's paying us to be a part of a bigger game, and we want to be an elitist in a bigger game. Mm-hmm. That's all it means. We want to be in control of more people. They're greedy in controlling world dominance. Mm-hmm. We don't want to just dominate Americans. We want to dominate the African, the Indian, the Asian. Problem is, you're not going to do it because you've got other countries that are playing the same game. And to be honest with you, you're not going to win. The Chinese right now are winning that game. Yeah. They're smarter than you because you've become lazy. You've fooled yourself into thinking that you can win this game, and you can't win this game. They are playing it better than you can because you've gotten lazy. And that is the scary thing, and America needs to wake up. And the problem is your kids have become lazy. I have this thing that I always talk about. What's the best way of ensuring that minority children can't compete with your children in the future? It's not by oppressing them. It's by convincing them they can't compete. Mm. And this is what's happened with minority communities. Mm-hmm. So what you do, you tell them that they don't have to compete. Mm-hmm. We'll give you things. So what the Democrats' game is, they tell the black community, they've convinced them over generations that these bad Republicans over here, mm-hmm. they will never let you make it. Mm-hmm. But we're your friend, so it's okay. They won't let you compete, but you don't have to. We're going to give you what you want, your kids.
Come live on my plantation.
Come live on my plant or my free whatever.
Yeah, but it's a plantation life.
Well, yeah, in a sense.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So, we'll give you the food you want. We'll give you so much money. We'll give you free housing, et cetera, et cetera.
Just like the slaves got.
And you don't have to do anything. No, the difference is in a plantation you had to work. In this, you don't have to work. You don't have to do anything. You just exist and vote for us. That's it.
That's the
only thing you have to do.
Right.
keep us in power, and we'll give you a subsistence. It won't be a real living wage. It'll be a subsistence. Meanwhile, my kids, look at COVID, right? What did all of the government people do? Their kids went to private school. Those schools stayed open. The public schools didn't, right?
Yep.
We gave what, $2,000 per person or per family for you while you were off.
Oh, yeah, per family it was over 4,000.
Yeah, so it was $2,000, $2,500. The people on welfare got that plus that. I mean, people, happy day, man. Everyone was excited, and so people were living large. They were enjoying it. Nobody was really suffering. They liked it. Trump was a bad guy. We vote for Biden. We vote for the Democrats. Yeah. And yet, in California, all the schools were closed. Nevertheless, the governor, all of the assembly people, their kids all went to school. Here in town, I was downtown, Montecasino, Cassia Hall, Bishop Kelly, all the places where the people that had money, those kids were going to school, while all the public school kids were sitting at home getting dumber and dumber.
When they shut down the public schools, Joy Hoffmeister also made Epic shut down. And I'm kidding you not. I was talking to David Cheney on the phone. He said he was in a conference call, and all these superintendents were in, but he was in too. And they said, the superintendent said, "Well, yeah, but what about Epic?" And Joy Hoffmeister says, "Yeah, we have to shut them down too because it wouldn't be right to give them an advantage." That's literally it. There was no risk of COVID from you being on your computer learning. But they were going to get an advantage, and she couldn't have that. Now, that's coming, I'm quoting.
But they couldn't shut any of the parochial schools down.
Right, yeah, they didn't have power to do that. No, Joy didn't.
No, I know. But see, that's how they play the game. And that's that. It's a feudal. I've written so many things over the years. It's just crazy. And what's funny, I've written them 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I've written these things. One about the new feudalism. You have your king, your lords, your dukes, your earls, and then you have your serfs, and the rest of the serfs are out there just having it lorded upon them. And it's just a sad thing. It's just this whole caste system. We're back to the old British system that we fought against, and people are just accepting it again. And there's so much that's similar. You have your court jesters, and the court jesters basically are to keep the people entertained, and they're working at the behest of the noble class to keep the people entertained and keep them happy. Every now and then you have some that are made fun of the noble class, and then they kill them. And it's so many similarities. As Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun.
A court jester just threatened to go on strike this last week. It was Barbara Streisand. She said, "I'll move to Canada if Trump gets elected."
Yeah, she's lying again.
They never do that.
People just need to start really sending her letters. Yeah. Is that a threat or a promise? Can we help you with your move? You know?
I just posted up on Facebook. I said, more motivation to campaign harder.
Yeah, really. I mean, these people are so stupid. They write these things. They put out lies. Pink came out with this thing about. There were several things she posted, and then they said that all of them were lies. None of them were true. And then she never recanted, never took them down, never. And they just feel they can throw these things out there because their people will never read the counters.
I mean, Eddie, you've been in the entertainment industry long enough to know the phoniness of the publicists who make a ton of money creating an image for an artist that may have no basis in truth or very little, but they'll make up narratives that'll sell. And it's a sham. I've seen some of these emails that were improperly sent to the wrong address and became public of how to recover somebody who had an entertainer who had all of a sudden some bad PR, and how to recover them from themselves and how they made a mess of their lives. And especially in the Christian realm, where we're trying to make them out to be somebody that we selectively give mercy and grace to. It's just, there's a lot of that happens.
Yeah.
I tell you, to stay a committed Christian in that environment tells me there's some certain strength to your Christianity because it's, look what you had to overcome with bitterness, because there's a lot of unethical characters out there because the environment somewhat breeds it with lack of accountability.
Yeah. But there are some good people too. I mean, there were some, there was some good relationships, some good, God used me, or allowed me, really more like allowed me, to run into some good people. There were some groups, one group in particular. Well, actually, now that I think about it, there were two groups where, maybe there are more, but anyway, where I actually had the feedback to realize that these groups weren't walking with the Lord.
Yeah.
And then after the tour, just what they experienced on that tour brought them back to what was important.
Wow.
And, and they let me know. And so that made it worth it,
That's impressive.
Yeah, that's important. And I'll always remember that, So to this day, there was one group I toured with, and I ended up on the trains spending most of my time with their sound guy. And then I found out the guy wasn't even saved, the sound guy.
Wow.
But at the end of the tour, it was like a 2-week tour all through Europe. We went to Paris and Brussels, your home country, and then around Germany and Holland. And I was all on trains and everything. And it was freezing cold. I mean, it was a cold tour, and we were doing outdoor stuff too.
Where was that one? You did one out in like the town commons.
Oh yeah, that was in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
But where we shut it down and I got in trouble. But anyway, and then I found out that after they got back to the States that he had accepted the Lord, and from the things because he told me he had been he was an agnostic, and he didn't believe in God and everything, and I got to share with him on that whole tour, and then they told me that he accepted the Lord when he got back, and he stayed with the Lord, and then he great guy, just a wonderful guy, and then he died of cancer a few years later. So I mean, those are some of the precious memories that I have, from that time. But anyway, just our situation today, it's a pretty crucial situation. I don't know if we have much time left. I mean, as a world, as a planet, because things are speeding to me to a collision course, and our nation in particular, to me, is so pivotal. We are kind of the thing holding it back. I believe America's been holding it back, and maybe we're what's spoken of in what is it, John 16, when he who holds it back is taken out.
Yeah.
Maybe we are the he. Maybe America's the he that's taken out, and everything goes. I don't know. There's so many things, but I know. I just have a sense that things are not good in the world right now.
Yeah.
One of the good things, though, Argentina.
Yeah.
And Holland.
Yeah. That was.
Let's talk about that. First, we'll go to Argentina. And Javier Milei is the newly elected president of Argentina. So you thought the biggest thing out of Argentina was Lionel Messi, soccer player, but it's now Javier Milei. And you thought Trump was something. This guy, he is really something. What's funny to me, I was watching the clips, It's amazing to me how in Argentina they apparently don't censor their things on. Have you seen these clips
true.
where he's just cussing away on?
No, Argentina TV is whatever comes out comes out.
Yeah, he's just on there. He's just cussing and calling the enemy, I call him, but the opposition. He's just calling them names and bleep bleep and bleep bleep bleep, and it's funny.
That guy's on a roll.
Oh, he is. He's not.
You could tell it's all ad lib too.
Yeah, and he is getting out of I think it was 11 cabinet positions in the government. He's torn down 8 of them. I think there are only 3 things left. He says the rest of them are all bleep. Excrement, let's put it that way. And he's going to reshape the whole deal. So it says Argentina elected radical libertarian Javier Milei as president in a runoff election Sunday, giving the outsider candidate he's pledged to blow up the status quo, and he seems to be doing it. But yeah, he is really pretty radical. But he's got a battle on his hands because the world is now after him.
Yeah.
And of course, by the world, I especially mean the media, our media included, the European media, the media throughout the world is not going to give this guy any help. Yeah,
I just want to set the scene a little bit. Argentina became a socialist government about 1949. It's funny, it happened right after World War II when a lot of the Nazis who could get out went to Argentina.
Well, but let's clarify that, though. See, what people still don't understand is that Nazis were socialists.
There you go.
That's what people can't...
That's where I'm going to.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So all of a sudden you get this influx of German socialist Nazis, and all of a sudden Argentina swings to the socialists. And they stayed socialist now, but back in the 20s and 30s, very opulent life. Argentina was just a very well-off nation. In fact, my high school social studies teacher says, if you went to Argentina, other than the fact they speak a different language, you really wouldn't hardly know you left the United States. Culturally, very much that middle class thing. The problem, now he told me this back in the 70s, when you've only had a couple of decades of socialism, right. Because socialism progresses into communism and that. Eventually, what did Thatcher say? Eventually you run out of other people's money. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening in Argentina. And I've got a lot of libertarian friends. I covered journalistically the Oklahoma Libertarian Convention, some of the funnest people to hang around. And they will tell you, no, this is not radical libertarianism. As a libertarian, this guy's not radical. He's very mainstream. It's just there's so many things that are ripe for the picking in Argentina for him to go after.
Yeah, he would be more like a Republican here.
Yeah.
Is pretty much where he's at.
Yeah, but it's going to be a radical shift if he's able to get the support to make the reforms needed.
Right. But what's going to happen, I predict it now, and you can already see it, they're going to paint him as this radical Nazi. Mm-hmm. Really is which is so funny because he is actually delivering the country out of the National Socialist model.
Yeah.
He's delivering them more to a Republican or capitalist model from the socialist model, but yet in their mind, because people over time have forgotten and either that or don't care to look deeply enough again at the difference between what true Nazism, fascism is, they just accept whatever the media tells them it is.
You know what I'd like to see happen? I'd like to see this fella somehow be able to set aside a week or two just to get with, whether it's Freedom Works or Young America's Foundation, do an American college campus tour.
Oh, they would protest. They would not.
I understand that. And maybe don't do it on campus, but have a conservative group like that. Because I mean, I remember when, Nigel Farage, after he successfully got the Brexit thing passed,
Right.
major reform, he come over here and he said, I'd like to sit in. He was telling us this when he was in Tulsa a couple years ago. I just thought, it'd be good to take in a Trump rally. So he goes, and Trump finds out, and they're like, my God, get him up here on stage, because he's a hero of that movement, that nationalism movement. And it's not a bad thing. You notice how the left wants to paint it as, he's a Christian nationalist. There's nothing wrong with being patriotic, supporting your nation, and not bowing the knee to a globalist.
But see, that's why it's going to take some proper and thoughtful PR to combat what's going to come against this guy.
And that's why I say I think it's important for him to get where the global media can't shut him up.
Right.
And, get him out there where people can hear. That's what Reagan did so well, is he went directly to the American people.
The only thing I regret is that the president of Brazil was defeated by the socialists, essentially. The Chinese got rid of him from Brazil.
Yeah, I think it's a high-tech lynching. I don't think he was actually defeated.
Well, okay, yeah, right.
Yeah.
But if we could have kept speaking conservatively, Bolsonaro, right? If Bolsonaro could have remained in power and then have this guy win in Argentina, followed by, I'm thinking maybe Colombia went conservative too this last election. I don't remember for sure.
Gotta look into that.
Yeah, but if we start, it will be crazy if all of a sudden we start seeing South America going conservative.
Yeah.
And then we have Italy and Hungary right now in Europe, and Holland has joined them, which is the next thing I want to get to.
Yeah.
Geert Wilders has become the new chancellor or president of Holland.
Which we also know as the Netherlands. That's their legal name. And then there's
Holland.
Holland is their tribal identity.
The Hollanders.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Dutch politician Geert Wilders has won a massive victory, positioning for the to form. He can now form a political party and become the next prime minister. He's been likened to the next Dutch Donald Trump for his brand of populist politics. But anyway, he seems to be, unlike Trump, destined to a lifetime in the opposition. So he, excuse me. He seems to be destined to have lifetime position, which is kind of be interesting how their politics works over there. So he had a landslide though, but you know what happened though. It was a surprise to him and everybody, but you know what happened. You know when they had that farmers strike because they were trying to take all the farms away from the people. Well, when you've got a country that is 70% farmland.
Yeah, it's agricultural. It's beautiful agriculture.
Yeah. How in the heck do you try to do that and not think that people are going to revolt? That's pretty dumb. Really, it's pretty dumb. So, they were just asking for it.
You're convincing them, or trying to, that their cows, their cattle,
the flatulence,
are creating too much methane. Eddie, I discovered something that was life-changing. I was studying Elon Musk's SpaceX, and he's using all liquid methane to propel his rockets. So I thought, okay, where's methane come from? How do you get it? How do you turn it into liquid form, and which is by refrigerating deep, 100, 200 degrees below zero. But I said natural gas is mostly methane. There's propane and butane and stuff. But the vast majority of methane is created. It's also referred to, natural gas is referred to as swamp gas, marsh gas. In other words, most of the methane is perpetually created by wetlands, not human source.
You mean the wetlands that is protected?
Yes, that we need more of. Yeah. But we're blaming the cows. Or in America, the gas stove in your kitchen is somehow ruining the planet. Meanwhile, we need more wetlands, which are really the one thing that if you want to cut down on methane, then maybe you need to convert it to some farmland.
Yeah, I see. That's what I don't understand about these people, the environmentalists. It's like they're talking out of both sides. They don't. They can't stay on subject. Well, what I think that is they don't have a subject. They don't have a side, and they're just. I mean, I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah, but their solution makes it worse, Eddie.
Well, right, but I think there's something else at work here.
Yeah.
There's something else at work, and it's being manipulated for a reason.
It was never about saving the planet. It's about controlling the people.
People, yeah.
That's all it's for.
That has to be it.
I'm sorry, you were going to say something more.
No. I mean, like I said, I'm confused. I mean, it makes no sense what they're. And finally, people are waking up because, the only advantage they have is in the education system, that they are brainwashing the children starting in kindergarten already about saving the earth and the planet, and they're scaring kids to death so that by the time they get to university, you've created these radical monsters that are out here ready to tear up. They're ready to destroy the earth to save the earth. That's what's so sad. So
a couple years ago, this is not long, about right in the wake of the whole George Floyd death, it is a Christian I listened to who went to college on an academic scholarship. This Christian went on Facebook and said, I'm a white person and I can never know what it's like. I will always suffer for being white, and I'll never be able to fully understand. And it was just this white guilt. She's just spewing out. But Eddie, the part that really this is the critical race theory, is that the white man will always be inferior because of his whiteness. Now you talk about the perpetual racism.
Yeah, but that's so crazy because the white man will be perpetually inferior because of white superiority.
Yeah.
His superiority makes him inferior.
But this is what dumbing down. Yeah. We aren't educating, we're indoctrinating.
Right.
And this is some of the products they're indoctrinating us with.
This should be a textbook.
Yeah.
In a sense, it really should. I should try to get Union Independent School District to make this required reading.
Yeah. So, and by the way, that goes to that. We've got a new charter school in South Tulsa.
Yeah.
That Hilldale has basically. Hillsdale, yeah. So, again, putting up Christmas lights for one of my longtime customers, and he mentions to me, because I knew his dad was a state representative, was mine, but he mentioned, I'm on the foundation board for this. Hillsdale, charter school in South Tulsa is just doing phenomenal things. And one day I'm doing his lights. The next day I'm over doing the neighborhood subdivision, their entrance. Yeah, check it out. It's awesome what I did that entrance, Saddlebrook. Okay, little plug. And I'm asking the board member there, because I'm doing his lights next. So how's it working out? Well, they were freaked out about this. Hundreds of students. And that city of Tulsa is so behind on widening roads that you basically got a 2-lane Sheridan Avenue. And they weren't ready for it. And that was the only thing they freaked out about. But even the people there that were nervous about all this are just blown away by the school. And this board member of the neighborhood says, most of those kids were actually homeschooled from what they can understand. Some of them actually, the parents said, why pay to go to a private school when we can get this kind of education in a taxpayer-funded school? And but really, Eddie, what this tells me, whether you're coming from a Christian school or homeschooling, people just want an education. That they can count on. Because Hillsdale is a very back to basics deal.
Right.
They don't all have the fancy, very elaborate stuff. And really, they're just a primary school right now. They're going to be going into high school
and high school.
Yeah,
right.
But they're focusing on, we're going to start creating a new generation of kids who are actually taught.
Well, good. We need it. I mean, may it succeed.
But get on the waiting list now, because this is what it tells you. Remember when TSAS opened up, 20 years ago? There was a waiting list. And then eventually there was a lottery pick to get on the waiting list.
So I should put my unborn grandchild on the waiting list.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, this is how much demand there is. The people want their kids to have a real education. And they won't. It's just like, the rich send their kids to the private schools.
Right.
But they will subject the rest of the world to a horrible failing public school system.
Yeah, that's how the rich operate, and you can't. Yeah.
By the way, there are some good things. We've had Elena Ashley, and we need to get her in again.
Yes.
And Elena,
yes.
You've got a standing invitation. She had some things going on last month when I reached out to her, but I reached out to David Arnett, whose, publication Tulsa Today. Well, it's actually, when I called him this week, one of his associate journalists is covering what's going on in Tulsa public schools. The person they tapped to be interim superintendent, I forget her name, I'm sorry, but she's doing a bunch of things right. I mean, she's putting her best foot forward to say, I could be a superintendent.
Well, maybe she realizes that she maybe wants to do it right because she's seen how much trouble she can get in, and she doesn't. And
because Alina is amazing. This woman, black woman, we've had her in here. Yeah. She's got on the school board, and she's given a lot of courage and bolstered the confidence of a couple other conservatives on there. And is it Jamie Griffin? I
don't know.
Anyway, another fellow, and then another black woman from North Tulsa. Right. Yeah. And, so I really think what Elena did, calling for that audit a year ago when they were missing maybe, $10,000 or whatever they couldn't account for, uncovered
millions.
Well, yeah, one guy just pled guilty in federal court to $600,000. And I don't think we've scratched the surface.
Yeah, right.
And meanwhile, Deborah Giss, the Sergeant Schultz of the operation, I see nothing, I hear nothing, finally realized that
I better get out.
Yeah, we better get out. So she resigned. And, so we're getting somewhere in education, Eddie. Yeah. I think that's what I was saying.
Hey, this will run into another little subject here, but Russia has placed the Ukrainian winner of the Eurovision Song Contest on the most wanted list. Yeah. Now, for those that don't know, we have American Idol and we have these other contests, but the biggest one in the world is the Eurovision Song Contest. So every year, every country has a contest like American Idol or America's Got Talent, but it's only a song contest. So they have songwriters put together a song, and then they get a group to do the song, and then they put that song forth, and then they pick a national winner, and then that winner goes and competes to represent all of Europe.
Okay.
Okay. And then there's one winner for the entire continent of Europe.
Okay. And every European nation, including Russia,
Right.
which straddles two continents, is part of this.
Is part of this.
Oh.
Right. And a Ukrainian won it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the song that was picked was the song, the singer's name is Susanna Yamladinova. Yamladinova.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
Susanna.
Yeah, Susanna. I don't think it's going to get any better if I say it more. I might go the other way. She was being sought for violating a criminal law. According to the independent news site Mediazona, Yamladinova, there you go, was charged under a law adopted last year that bans spreading so-called fake information. Is that like misinformation?
Mm-hmm.
But this is fake information about the Russian military and the ongoing fighting in Ukraine. Yamladinova, they're giving me all kinds of opportunities to say this right, who performs under the stage name Yamala, won the Eurovision contest with the song 1944. A title that refers to the year the Soviet Union ordered the mass deportation of 230,000 Crimean Tatars from their homeland. Mm-hmm. Russia initially protested 1944 being allowed in the competition, claiming it violated rules against political speech in Eurovision. But it was later allowed, as officials said the song made no specific criticism of Russia or the Soviet Union. Mm-hmm. So Russia is upset that she won this song and did this song basically accusing Russia of deporting all of these people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, because it deeply undermines the Russian narrative of the Crimea has always been Russian.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
One of the worst things you can do, this happened, Israel got a lot of pushback in the 70s and 80s for deporting Palestinians. Because in many parts of the world, your identity as a people, as a culture, has to do with your tribal homeland. And when you kick somebody out of there, they're essentially homeless.
No, I agree.
As Americans, we don't identify with this as much.
Yeah.
But in other parts of the world, it's a big deal.
Yeah, no.
I mean, what is Russia's claim to eastern Ukraine? Well, they speak Russian.
Right.
Well, if that's true, Mexico should take the southern half of Texas because they speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't. Or Great Britain should come back and say, y'all speak English, you belong to us now.
Right.
It's like you can't claim copyright to your language.
That's what Hitler did. That's how he took Czechoslovakia, remember?
Yeah.
Because they spoke German in there, and that was the big thing of the fight there. Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah. No, I know. To me, it's stupid. It's a stupid deal, especially to be worried about a song and to put this person on a most wanted list.
That's the thing. For a despot, ideas are a mortal enemy.
Yeah.
And the free speech ideas. I'm just reading a headline, Euronews, German police swoop on suspected extremists, quote, plotting to undermine the government. In America, that's called free elections.
Yeah.
But what happened to Germany? Because keep in mind, we have to take ownership of who Germany is, because what happened, Eddie, and you were a child born under this, there was the Western Allies occupied, was it 2 or 3 parts of, when they split up Germany?
There were 4.
Okay, 4.
It was U.S., England, France, and then Russia got.
Yeah.
Russia got the biggest part.
Which was called East Germany.
East Germany, and then the West Germany was split into 3 parts.
So from 45 until about 90, 91, you had 2 separate countries, right? East Germany and West Germany. Right. You and I grew up under that.
Right. And
you were born in West Germany.
Right. And we actually gave up the Allies, the Allied power, control America, Britain, and Germany, and France. We actually gave it back over in the 60s. Mm-hmm. I think it was 60 or 61.
Yeah,
we the occupation. We no longer occupy. Now we kept our bases, but only that was more or less to protect them from Russia at that point.
Yeah.
We didn't occupy anymore.
Right, essentially the NATO compact.
Right, whereas Russia, they kept theirs there because they wanted to control part of the Soviet Union.
Well, what I'm saying here, to my point, is we set up a German government that reflected the values we fought for in liberating them from the Nazi socialism.
We tried, but in a sense.
But then in 91, East and West Germany formally reunified and became just known as Germany.
Yeah.
And to what influence the Allies who liberated Germany had anymore, I don't know. The only thing we have is they're not allowed to have an army, right?
No, I think that's gone. I think they're allowed to now.
Oh, well,
because that's why we now want the German army to send stuff to.
Let me put it this way. In Japan, we forced them to sign a treaty. We set up a government that says they could have basically National Guard, but no larger than a certain amount. And Japan's still under that. And
I don't know.
And what we said is the U.S. is responsible for protecting you from an outside invasion. And I thought it was essentially that same thing with Germany.
I think it was, but I think we have lifted that at some point when they reunified and got everything together.
Because I think, I
don't think we're afraid of a threat from Germany any longer.
Yet, at the time, in 46, 47, 48, we said, you know what? We thought we settled this in 1918.
Yeah.
Then we had to fight again in the 40s. And
I think when under NATO compact or whatever, I think we got rid of that because they then became an equal partner in NATO and were able to have an army just like all of the other countries over there. So.
Right, but this headline says, extremists plotting to undermine the government. Well,
can you read more of that? I mean, what were the extremists doing?
Well, they didn't actually do anything.
Who are the extremists?
They're just, this is what I'm saying, Euronews is not giving us hard details of actual crimes plotted or committed. It's just teachings.
Just teaching.
That's all I can see here,
Yeah.
And evidently a lot of these were in Munich, trying to block communications of, well, actually there may have been some subversion going on, but not actual violence. Trying to block communication channels of public authorities by contacting them in a targeted mass. Okay, so it was a 501, what do they call it when you do this? Denial of access kind of thing, where you bombard a website and a website can't handle it and it shuts down.
Oh, yeah. And overloading it.
Yeah. And so that doesn't happen every day in America.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Because,
right.
Just businesses have resorted to doing that to shut down competing websites. But anyway, and to me that ought to be. But to me that's not much more than a misdemeanor.
But see, Germany has weird rules. For example, you can't wash your car on Sundays. You can't mow your lawn on Sundays. You can't use power tools after 8:00 at night. You can't, like if I live in an apartment and I can't nail a nail in the wall because I'm disturbing my neighbor. Oh, if you're in the woods and you come across a trail of ants, or even in your yard, there's an anthill and there's a trail of ants, you can't step on it and blot out because you've damaged nature.
Yeah, we only do that with sea turtles here.
Yeah.
But Eddie, I must say, some of those things here in America, those are city ordinances, disturbing the peace and things like that.
Right.
And
it's a natural law.
Okay, so
national law, yeah. Or for example, in the morning, like here, when it's real cold, or especially like up in Minnesota, like you would start your car and let it warm up and defrost your thing. No, you can't do that.
Well, that's this environmentalist movement. I don't think that was that way in the 70s when you were there.
Yeah, it was. It was that way. Yeah, because I remember that's when, even in 72.
You know what we'd tell them in Minnesota? You can go to hell.
I was waiting. I love that. We should record that. We need to make that a recording. We hit the button.
All right, we'll capture that. Well, anyway, so yeah, this is a problem I have is because it's happening in the United States. What is the mantra we keep hearing from the Biden administration? They're seeking to undermine our democracy. What they mean is our regime.
Yeah. What America really hopes to do, they hope to follow this social democrat model of Germany.
Yeah.
The social democrats it's this osmosis, this synthesis of socialism and democracy as they have defined it, where the government controls. So, for example, here, and I got into arguing with the Dutch. It's the same in Holland, Germany, most of Europe. So, in Germany, you have to register with the Landratsamt, which would be the Wohnungsamt, the living bureau. So, if you want to move from Jinx to Bixby, you have to ask permission from Bixby if you can move there.
Wow.
And if you don't fit the socioeconomic model, they can say no.
Then how'd they get all those Middle Easterners in there?
Well, they put them in a certain area.
Yeah.
They would say, no, by your social class, you can move to West Tulsa.
Yeah.
And so in another group, they may say, okay, you can move to North Tulsa.
Yeah, the reason I'm saying this hypocritical is because if you're allowing little municipalities to have that kind of, controlling, the culture would be there, then why can't the people on a national level say, no, we don't want these people who don't believe in the constitutional liberties that we're founded upon?
Probably because the people that are in power control the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it's a hypocrisy.
Oh, it's totally. It's the those who hold the stick make the rules.
Okay. What I want to know, Eddie, as a German national, somebody you born in Germany, and that a German mother, we've got a rather conservative Italian government now. Mm-hmm. Okay. We've always had Marine Le Pen in France as being a valid opposition to Macron. You've got what you got going on in Spain. They're actually going through a revolution where they're trying to overthrow the Constitution and establish a socialist, perpetuity.
They're trying to go the other way.
And then Holland, of course, what we've heard. Has Germany ever, in post-World War II, had a truly conservative, as you and I would define conservative?
No, because they're so afraid of going back to the fear of Hitler.
Oh, so they just call him a Nazi, and that dispels him.
Right.
Kind of like we use the term racism to bring.
Yeah, or Nazi now.
Yeah.
Everything here is a Nazi. They call, what's his name, Javier Milei, a Nazi. Everybody's a Nazi. And if you don't, they don't even know. It's because people don't know what a Nazi is. They call everybody a right winger, or a conservative. A conservative Christian is synonymous with Nazi now. That's how the Democrats are so good at redefining terms. Mm-hmm. They've redefined democracy.
Oh yeah,
democratic. They've redefined Nazi. They've redefined liberty. They're busy redefining everything so that people don't know anymore. Everything that's good is bad, and everything that's bad is good. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what they've done here in America, and that's where we're starting to head now. Republican is being pretty much synonymous with being a Nazi.
Do you remember? This is when Gorbachev was in power, and he's trying to bring glasnost, or reforms and openness,
perestroika and glasnost,
and the people at the Kremlin who opposed him. Our media referred to them as right wingers. And Fred Barnes one time I think it was a McLaughlin group, he said, right wingers, you mean like Ronald Reagan? Are you saying these people, believe what Ronald Reagan, because he called them right wingers, well, they were just the opposite.
Right.
And so I'm trying to figure out here, where is somebody who stands up and promotes conservatism, and then when he gets called a Nazi, just say, I will not tolerate the misinformation that accuses the Socialist Nazi Party as somehow being right-wing. Right. They were socialist.
Yeah, see, nobody does that, and probably because they don't know themselves or aren't
they're indoctrinated,
aren't smart enough, right, to realize that not what Nazi really stands for.
Yeah.
National Socialists.
Yeah. Now, I have to say, the German Nazis did borrow a few things from Mussolini's Italy. The corporatism or fascism is a form of socialism.
Right. But do you see what people don't also realize is that initially Hitler and Stalin were colleagues. They were buddies. Mm-hmm. And they had plotted to take over Poland.
Well, that was part of the agreement. The agreement was Stalin gets Ukraine,
right,
which he took,
right,
and then Germany gets Poland.
Well, yeah. Well, no, they were going to split Poland.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right, and what happened then, Hitler reneged on it. He
took
wanted all of it.
Yeah.
And that's then when Stalin went against him.
Yeah.
But initially, they were both socialists. They were both communists. They came along the same. They were both the same, and that's what then differentiated the Nazis from the communists.
Okay, so they were both bent on building global empires.
Right. It was like Stratego.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For real, you know, or Risk, global domination, and they just ticked each other. They're both megalomaniacs, and they were playing this game, and Hitler got ahead of himself, and blew it. If Hitler had played the game smarter, he should have gone on and said, "Okay, yeah, let's do that," and then waited and taken the half of Poland, let Stalin have his half of Poland, let Mussolini have his part, let it, and then build his empire, and then waited and then made his part stronger.
Yeah.
Then taking another piece and another piece and another piece, and then eventually do Europe. I mean, who knows what could happen? But ultimately, I have to say, it was God. It was God that ended up causing Hitler, as he usually does, to overplay his hand. And I believe in the end, God is going to cause the Democrats to overplay their hand, cause whoever comes against his people in the Middle East to overplay their hand. This is how God works. Not that he has to or always will, but like I want him to. But I'm just saying, if the pattern continues, that's usually what happens. And in the end, finally, they're going to overplay their hand, and Jesus is going to return and wipe everybody out.
Yeah. So I want to grab one more lesson from Mussolini's Italy. He has a famous quote. He said, fascism ought rightly be called corporatism because it's the merger of government and commerce, or the corporate. And it's different from socialism, where government takes over industry, and to the extent, furthest extent, becomes communism. Government controls all commerce.
Right.
So, but what Hitler did, for instance, with the car companies, he allowed them to continue on, but you did whatever the government did, highly regulated and controlled them. Eddie, you saw it as an insurance professional. You used to have all kinds of insurance companies, underwriters, products on health insurance. I, as a small businessman, independent, I pretty much got to go to the marketplace that the federal government set up. And there's very few products.
For what? What type of insurance do you have?
If you go through the federal marketplace, healthcare.gov.
Right.
Okay. And what they did was they mandated all of these things, and then they subsidized the big boys to where a lot of the small company, I know you could go into much greater detail. I'm very simplifying this, to where if I want something I can afford that I used to pay for myself, I mean, I can't anymore. Because they essentially made us all into the high risk pool by absorbing the high risk pool.
Well, yeah, that's it. You if you want to be able to get cheap stuff, the cheaper stuff, which is not as cheap as they make it seem, you go to the pool.
Yeah, but for many,
but the marketplace. But there's still private insurance. You can still buy your own private insurance.
Yeah.
It's just that the marketplace is where you go with the copper, the bronze, the silver. But wait, let me finish. Mm-hmm. Calm down. Mm-hmm. No, but there are still independent, like, what is it? This Christian, I can't remember it. Oh, man.
The MedShare kind of thing.
MedShare.
Yeah, I understand that.
Let me just say it. Let me finish. Mm-hmm. Which I highly recommend them because they are cheaper than the marketplace.
Yeah, I was using an analogy, so
right.
I knew we'd get up because you're professional.
Right.
You don't feel that people understand this enough. But what I'm getting at is what Obama set up is a form of fascism.
Oh, yeah,
he
yeah.
picked the
definitely.
Winners and losers and subsidizes.
And that's why Apple and Facebook and a lot of the corporatists, a lot of corporations, they like it and they support the Democrats because he has made it good for them.
Yeah.
He works with them. People think that the Democrats are against the big boys. They're not against big bit. They talk out of their mouth here, but under the table, they're feeding these people.
Right. Now, we did it under the war effort. I know this because my grandfather had just started a lumber business, about a sawmill. He's going, and a year after that comes Pearl Harbor. And the government was going to take over his sawmill, which was on his family farm. And they looked at it and said, boy, it's going to be pretty hard for us to take over. So instead, they gave them a quota and then notified them that they have one customer, and that it's the federal military. And as long as they kept up their quota, they got their guaranteed, sale, and that you're going to stay afloat, pay the bills, and that. But that's a form of fascism.
Right.
And what I'm saying is fascism is a type of socialism.
Yeah.
We've had it since statehood here with our utilities. We're guaranteeing the power company a territory and that you're going to make a profit. And the government oversees to make sure you aren't making too much of it. But that's all forms of socialism. Mm-hmm. Where we're still keeping private enterprise, but we highly control it. And so when people want to say to you that a right-winger is a fascist, no. On an economic model, a socialist is closer to a fascist.
Right.
We are laissez-faire, free enterprise.
Yeah, that's what people never understand. They don't realize that essentially Nazism, communism, and socialism are just cousins. Mm-hmm. And Nazism and communism are essentially first cousins. There's hardly any distinction because it's all run by the party. It's just totally party. And if for example, with Nazis, if you were a member of the Nazi party, then you were one of the good guys. You were in.
Yeah.
You could work. You could do this. You could do. You got perks.
Yeah.
If you weren't a member of the party, then you were down. You were just a peon, and And this is where we are headed, and this is where they're sending signals that essentially, if you're a member of the Democrat Party, then you are in, and you can get the job, you can get to college, you can do this, do this, do this. If you're not, you're going to be like a non-member of the Communist Party.
Yeah.
That's how the Communists work.
Kind of like you have to be a woke leftist in Hollywood.
Right. And for example, I was just shocked when I first met an East German who came out of that system, and he told me that, you didn't have to be a communist, but if you weren't, that you couldn't go to college.
Yeah.
You couldn't get certain jobs you could be a factory worker, baker, or butcher, you could get the menial street sweeper,
Yep.
Those type of job, laborer, but you could never get above that. Mm-hmm. Your kids couldn't go to any kind of higher education, bureaucrat job you couldn't get or move up into any type of meaningful employment. And so that's how they get you, the carrot, so that is where I think the Democrats are really wanting to drive us, mm-hmm. and then you become one party with the carrot versus the stick, but they want to use the carrot to get everybody there, and eventually, if the carrot doesn't work, they'll use the stick to drive everybody.
Yeah, 2 years ago at my daughter-in-law's birthday party, good friend of theirs, family friend, she's been up to my folks' home and stuff, but her dad, Communist Party member in Russia. Mm-hmm. And he was a professor at the University of Moscow. Yeltsin comes in, boom, you're gone. He ends up being a cop on the street. And I'm sitting there listening to him, and he detests Yeltsin like you wouldn't believe, because he played the spoil system. It worked until it didn't work. And he lost his career as a college professor, a very prominent college professor. Yeah. His daughter ends up graduating, becoming an attorney. And now, she trades all that away to come to America and work in a local church. And wonderful young woman. But, this is the thing. This is how they live over there.
Yeah.
It's all about, are you a party member? Because you're staking your entire future on being that party
and
member.
We've got a generation of people who are being trained to that.
Yeah.
They're being prepared for that. So.
Yep. So you were talking gun rights. I didn't know if you want to get into that.
Yeah, there's a case there in California, in L.A. A L.A. man was defending his home from armed intruders, and he was facing an uphill battle to get his gun permit back. He had a permit, had everything, and the California law enforcement agencies out there apparently have a broad discretion on whether to give you a license or not. But he used his weapon to fight off these armed attackers.
And that's the reason you're supposed to legitimately say why you want your right to keep and bear arms, to protect you and your family. And he does it exactly how he's supposed to. And now he's a danger. Right.
It's in their terms and conditions agreement, L.A. County Sheriff's Department grants itself virtual limitless and unchecked discretions to revoke a constitutional right over just about anything at any time.
Yeah.
Amy Schwer, senior legal fellow at Heritage Foundation, told Fox News, at issue is the case of an L.A. resident and married father of one who earlier this month was forced into a gunfight when two armed men jumped the fence of his gated community and attempted to force their way into the front door. He was concerned for the safety of his wife and 5-month-old daughter and the family's nanny. He fought back, first with a hot cup of coffee he was holding his hand. Then the attack began, then by pulling out his gun and getting into a firefight with the intruders in his driveway. Surveillance footage captured the dramatic scene unfolding, showing the intruders retreating from Ricci's gunfire, with one hopping over the fence and the other running around a car in the driveway. So he used it in self-defense, and now they're trying to take his gun away, his gun rights away from him, because he used his gun to defend his life and property.
Wow. L.A. County.
L.A. County.
You know, the L.A. County Health Department director resigned. He's now one of my clients in South Tulsa. He, over there, when they put Obamacare in, and then they expanded Medicaid, they gave it up to each health department in each county to run it. He told me, he says, I ran Medicaid for $14 million.
Ooh.
That's 4 times the size of the state of Oklahoma. I said, man, I got to tell Governor Stitt about you. He'd probably love to have you as an advisor on some of these things when we had to roll out Medicaid expansion. And because we gave it to Oklahoma Healthcare Authority, they gave it to the county health departments to do. But he's a big Trump supporter, him and his wife, and he got the heck out of California and chose Tulsa.
That might not be a plus with Governor Stitt.
Yeah, I know.
As a DeSantis supporter.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about that. You remember, was it 6 months ago, a big DeSantis rally came here. And Stitt, a lot of our legislative leaders, the Senate President Pro Temp, the Speaker of the House, they all threw all in for DeSantis. They got egg on their face now. We didn't follow them, did we? Not in Oklahoma.
No, and I know why he did it. He wanted to be the first. You know, he was proud of himself for being one of the first for the governor of Virginia, and there was somebody else that he was one of the first to support him. You know, and so his instincts had been good, but this time he really, I think, jumped the shark on this one. He jumped too soon on DeSantis.
Yeah.
In fact, I think Nikki Haley has jumped DeSantis into the second spot. So it's kind of it's a weird thing right now. And honestly, I think all of these other contenders really just needed to get out.
And, you know, Jim Bridenstine, I kind of warned him about it when he mentioned, he says, no, I'm not running again. I want to go back to National Guard. And I said, well, if you do, realize the last person to hold your congressional seat and then come back and live here in Tulsa, we named a golf course after him in a federal, Paige Belcher. And everybody in the room laughed when I said it, but because I didn't believe he would actually do it. Almost all of our former congressmen have moved on to be a lobbyist to Congress. And that's what Bridenstine largely is doing. He tries to, say, no, I'm a consultant to aerospace. Yeah, right, And Steve Largent, I headed up an organization of mobile communication. You're a lobbyist for the cell phone industry. Frank Keating, I'm just helping the bankers organize. He's a lobbyist. He made millions, and right now John Sullivan's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
He told me last time we were at Hearn's watch party, he said, no, I'm helping represent certain, yeah, you're a lobbyist. Just use the word, and so, but they're always looking for their next gig. Always looking for their next gig. And this is what term limits gave us here in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Now, I think you've got a strong argument ideologically against term limits. The interesting thing we see here is these guys know the clock's ticking. Stitt is only going to be serving for 3 more years as governor. So he knows it isn't going on. And where do you go after being governor? Do you run for the legislature? Maybe. Yeah, I'm sorry. Do you?
Somebody's worrying. It's Governor Stitt.
Yeah. What do you do? What do you do next? And so I'm thinking, he's probably looking to hook his to the wagon, right?
Exactly. Oh no, I know. I guarantee you that's what he's doing. And so he's not foolish. That's what you do. But I think you wait a little longer, and you do it a little differently. But I would. I don't know. I can't speak for the man. His instincts have been good. I think he's been a great governor. I think there were other ways. I think if he had waited, he could have waited until it became a little more clear, and then thrown his hat into the, his support behind whoever it was until it's clear. I mean, that a lot of other governors in the country have not supported anyone. And they're waiting for the dust to settle a little bit. Yeah. That's the way, to me, that's how I would do it versus jumping right out there and getting behind DeSantis or whoever it is, Nikki Haley, or especially Tim Scott, who's no longer in it at all. But, it's just one of those deals. And as far as Bridenstine, I think it's a wise move for him to go back to the National Guard, because this way he can serve out. See, the way it works, if he finishes 20 years, his 20 years in the National Guard, he'll have to wait until he's 60, but then he collects a full military pension. Whereas if he does 20 years with active duty, he collects it right away.
Or you serve long enough for maybe some of that GI Bill to kick in and pay off your student debt finally. Student loan debt.
Well, yeah, that too. But I'm just saying it would. But the other way, like I said, his I think his student debt is probably paid off from his Congress. That's one.
Yeah, because it was 11 years ago. He was just got elected to Congress. Right.
And kind of, in fact, that was one of the things that kind of got me, because when he ran, he had a very high student.
Sure.
But
the Democrat was worse.
Double.
Yeah, double.
More than double.
Yeah.
Because it was him and his wife.
Yeah.
I remember that. I think that the Democrats' student loan bill between him and his wife was almost $900,000. Yeah. Can you imagine? How in the heck do you ever get out of a student debt?
Right.
Buy a house or whatever. I mean, how do you ever pay that off?
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to say, alongside your philosophical opposition to term limits,
right,
that you're literally limiting people's free choice of who's going to lead. You're actually harming the voters' autonomy to choose their leader by making people ineligible. But here's what I want to say, Eddie. When the way it is now, when they know they're being termed out, when I see amongst legislators, they spend that last term, or maybe more than
looking for a job,
looking for their next gig.
Yeah.
And they, so you lose that, and then you lose something even more. The threat of voting them out of office has been very effective to get legislators to pay attention to their constituents. And you lose that when they're a lame duck.
That's true. That's true. Especially if they're looking for that job and someone needs something and can tickle their ear.
Yeah.
To get what they want.
Yeah, what I've seen in
legislation.
In governors, their second terms always been worse than their first. President, oh my God. I mean, they quit trying. They're coasting. And that's why in the 6th year of any presidential administration, if you haven't already, you for sure are going to lose Congress to the other party.
Yeah. I mean, one thing so far in the first year here, Governor Stitt, I haven't seen that.
Well, I haven't seen any big agenda efforts either.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, because he's not done with what he's been trying to do from the first term. He's still busy. I mean, he had enough battles to fight in that first 4 years. The one thing I don't think, what is it, Oklahoma, 2 terms?
Yeah.
I don't think that's enough.
Yeah.
I really don't. I think because if you give a senator, if we're limited them to 2 terms now, right? It's 12 years.
3.
Oh,
12,
3.
12 years.
It's 12 years.
So 4 years in the Senate.
Right. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So you got 12 years. 12 years. So why not give a governor 3?
Yeah.
I mean, because 2 just doesn't seem enough to me.
Well, and I've talked to several lawmakers about it.
And 3 terms for a congressman, that's ridiculous.
We can't control the rules for voting for Congress.
No, I understand. I'm just saying the term limits, to limit them, it's 3 terms, right?
Yeah, for U.S. Congress, no, there is none.
The term limits.
Yeah, for our legislature, state legislature, it's 12 years, and it's regardless of whether it's Senate or House or both.
No. Okay, I'm talking about like the term limit pledge.
Oh, yeah. In that pledge, isn't that they're pledging themselves to it, at least the one that is most popular, is pledge they will support a reform.
The term limit pledge that Mullen broke and Bridenstine didn't.
Gotcha, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
That personal pledge.
That personal pledge.
Yeah.
It was 3 terms for Congress, and for Senate it would be, I guess, 2.
Yeah.
Right.
6 and 12, right. 6 for the House,
right.
Members, 12 for the Senate.
But the one for governor is a strict one for the state, and that's 2 terms.
Yeah, that's not a pledge, that's a law.
Right, a law. So it's 8 years, and you're talking 12 for a senator.
Yeah, or even a legislator.
Right. Well, legislators less though, because it's 3 terms for a congressman.
No, it's 12 years in the legislature.
Not the state, federal.
Yeah, that's a pledge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Follow me, Dave.
Yeah.
Let me slow down. The pledge for the U.S. House is how many years?
The pledge that Bridenstine and Mullins had made was 3 terms, 2-year terms.
Exactly, 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's
we got that straight.
Personal pledge.
That's nothing. That's not enough.
Yeah.
And then for Senate, it was, I think, as I recall, it's 2 terms, I believe, right? Which would be 12 years. And then, but we've got a legal binding term limit for governor.
That's constitutional
for
law.
8 years.
Yeah.
So that's ridiculous. So, I mean, even if it's a governor I don't like, it makes me happy, but I don't think it's, because when I get one I like, then, so when Stitt's done in 8 years and they get some person I don't like, then I'm back to that. You know what I'm saying? I think the governor should have a longer one. That's all I'm trying to say.
When I've talked to
and I think congressmen should have a longer one.
Yeah, when I've talked to lawmakers at the state legislature, they felt like it was too short. And I think what we've come up with is probably a good idea to float out there was change it to 16 years aggregate. Whether you start in Senate and then run in the House, or House and then Senate.
I see what you're saying.
And because, let's face it, anytime you do a term limit, that lame duck session, that last term, you're not going to get as good on any of them. Mm-hmm. Any of them. Mm-hmm. And so if you switch it to 3 terms for governor, now keep in mind, Oklahoma, until George Nye got elected to 2nd term, we'd never had a governor survive and get 2 terms. We take them for 4 years, and we've been throwing them out. And that's when we were a Democrat Party, one-party state, essentially. We've just never been happy with our governors.
Well, maybe we need to get rid of the term limit then again.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been a problem.
Because what? What did it do? It let the people decide who they wanted.
Right. So after George Nye, Henry Bellman in his old age did 1 term, and then he didn't even run. We literally threw David Walters out of office. I remember I say we literally did. He should have been in jail as a felon, and he plea bargained down to misdemeanor, and it was corruption in his campaign. But then Keating became only the 2nd governor to serve 2 terms, and then Brad Henry, and then Mary Fallin. So we've only had 4, and now our 5th one in state history has been Stitt. So it's only a very recent thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's But there's the other thing. The thing we really need to change, really need to get rid of, is nonpartisan elections for mayor.
Yeah.
I was there when that was an issue brought up, and we were warned, and nobody at the county executive meeting, and I don't remember who it was that brought it up, but we were warned that it would be the death of a Republican mayor for Tulsa because they pointed out every state that it happened in, they never saw another Republican mayor or Republican governor.
I think the last mayor we've had that didn't live within a few blocks of 31st in Lewis was Dick Crawford, an ORU professor. He was on faculty at ORU, but it's kind of been, I'll call him a chambercrat. It's kind of that good old boy, moderate money part of Tulsa. Yeah. And Dewey Bartlett was part of the problem. And so when he was running the last time, he came to Tara, and I remember Medlock finally asked him, how did we end up getting this? And Dewey is, I don't know. That's a good question. He didn't realize quietly sitting in the back of the room was Sally Bell. She says, oh, yes, I remember. You wanted it. And he like, ooh, that voice, Sally Bell's voice. And she was, the county chairman of the Republican Party. And so I quickly changed his eye. I said, Dewey, will you pledge to work with us to defeat this? Yeah. And nothing more has happened. And largely, the Republican Party of Tulsa County needs to make it a priority. Hello, Rhonda Vilmont Smith. You really do. And you need to call on Dewey to keep his commitment to help with that. Because that's what threw him out. He rode that beast until it bucked him off and took G.T. Bynum. And a lot of the people I know of say, guarantee you, our next mayor is going to be the Democrat county commissioner.
Yeah.
Karen
Keith, yeah.
And, it guaranteed us a Democrat.
Right.
Well,
in the case of Karen Keith, I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think if we had a Republican, I really don't think it's going to matter because Karen Keith, I think, her old TV image and everything else, she probably has enough friends to where it might not. But just in long term, it needs to happen.
Yeah.
I agree with you. We need, whether to take it out of a personal situation, I think it needs to happen.
Yeah. Bill LaFortune brought Karen Keith into his administration. I don't know what was, chief of staff or something, but that really got her feet wet in politics.
Right.
And now she headed up the Brookside Association, which was kind of a neighborhood organization. But it wasn't until Trump wanted to come hold a rally during the COVID era, and that's the first time I saw the nasty side of what I think has otherwise been a fantastic community leader, Karen Keith.
Right.
She tried to shut that down every way she could.
Yeah, I've noticed too, she has, when she first came into office, she was very nice, but she has gravitated far left now.
Should we invite her on?
Yeah, you're welcome to.
Let me see. I've talked to some other people down at the county, and I think she'd like to actually have a conversation. I think we could.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, I've heard.
I'd love to ask her. Karen, you used to be a really nice person. What happened to you?
No, I've heard some really good things overall about her helping lead the county. And and I think there's some county things. I'd like to talk to her about the jail. The courthouse issue.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be a major expenditure.
I have a feeling that the powers that be in the Democrat Party have maybe had a come to Jesus meeting with her or something, just told her, if you want to go places, we need you to be more.
Yeah, except that this would be nonpartisan.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, but still, you know, if the party turns against you.
Yeah, I understand that, but G.T. Bynum, I think he's going private sector. I don't think this is his stepping stone to something else.
Oh, no, I agree. I think he realizes he's not going anywhere politically outside of Tulsa because Republican-wise, he's done. He won't go anywhere.
Right.
Right,
but I don't think he wants
He would
to.
have to change parties, and whether he'd make anywhere Democrat-wise, I don't know.
I mean, unlike Kathy Taylor, who really wanted to run for Congress, getting defeated by Dewey Bartlett ended her political career. Mm-hmm. And now she's basically got the mayor's suite as soon as Bynum's her puppet.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I mean, it says
she's like Obama to Biden.
Yes. You know, but Karen, I don't think that she's that power hungry beyond this.
So you think, I see what you're saying. But you think she'll be controlled by somebody? You think Kathy will still be calling the shots for Karen?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think...
we should get her in here. Yeah, please invite her to come in.
All right. We'll make that happen. But you talked about the gun thing. Can I just mention the FEC has come down on the state Republican Party?
Yeah, please. Yeah,
okay.
That's very important.
Yeah, so, and Nathan Dahm did talk to Randy Crable, Tulsa World. Randy, I thought, had a good story on it. I know Randy will say there's more to this. There's more coming. Basically, friend of mine, Mike McCutcheon, who you know, in his years as part of Victory Christian Center's,
right? I knew him from way
team.
Back in those days.
Yeah, and been suffering from advanced prostate cancer, and he after he retired at Victory, he moved to Moore to be with family, and he continued his treatment. He also served as David McLean, then being chairman of the OKGOP, he was the party treasurer. The problem is things got worse, and he kept all the data locked in his password-protected laptop. And so from what I've heard, McLean just kind of had to do his best with whatever information he could, but it didn't match bank records. And the FEC was reduced to basically looking at bank activity and making the claim that that's the reality. And you and I both know that our banking activity is not an accurate picture of, say, our income. Not any more than, you taking a friend to dinner and splitting while you paid the bill and then he just handed you money.
Right.
You didn't spend $50 on dinner, you spent $25, but you were the pass-through. And so this is kind of what's happened here. And evidently David McLean, at least from what Randy Crable said, hadn't been all that helpful in explaining this. But the guy left holding the bag is Nathan Dahm. And we knew this was coming. In fact, Darren Gantz, our good friend, was the treasurer under the previous administration when it was first announced, FEC is investigating us. And it really comes down to shabby bookkeeping. It's not the first time. Randy Brogdon and, David Weston were both found to be out of compliance. And they were not paying withholding taxes, FICA taxes on employees. So we've had problems in the OKGOP, largely because we have effectively no longer followed our state bylaws, which say that the state committee, 400 members, which I was a part of during this time, we were kept in the dark. Really, David McLean was the chairman when I was on state committee, and we were kept in the dark about a lot of things. We weren't forthcoming about things. There's just been a number of issues. And the state chairman is supposed to answer to the state committee. They have the power to fire him. Largely, we haven't done that. We haven't even allowed their state committee to know who's on the committee. So the OKGOP has some cleaning up to do, and I wanted to mention that. By the way, we did lose another party leader. Porter Davis also passed away, again, prostate cancer. And Terry, our prayers go to you and the family. Porter has been a dear personal friend of mine for many years. And we had talked a few months ago, and he was very much homebound. So it's tough. Men's health is really important. You've helped me over the years to say, hey, get a hold of these things, mental health, on men's health issues, especially as we're getting on in years. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, by the way, I have to say, you've helped me. I've given myself my first 2 injections.
Yeah.
I'm self-injecting of testosterone now, so yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a big hassle. Once I realized I don't have to run in for my shot every week.
Right. It is easier. So.
Now, I've actually probably a little more squeamish than you. I had to devise a little tool where I could just,
Yeah. I, for me, it was just too big a hassle. I just take the needle and stick it in there, and then it goes in so easy. I mean, it's a little, I try not to look at it because it's a long needle. So
yeah, because once you go into, and I do my thigh. That's what they told me to do.
Yeah. Well, it's a little hard reaching around to your butt, and you don't have much of a butt to
There you go.
I've got ample, as they say, ample. But no, I do the thigh too. But yeah, I mean, it just goes in nice and easy. Mm-hmm. And this time it wasn't as sore as the last time, the first time. For some reason, it got real sore. I don't know what I was doing, flexing or something.
Occasionally you hit a nerve.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that tickles a little more.
Yeah. So, but anyway, any of you guys that hit 40 and over, and you find yourself getting a little tired, I would go get your doctor to test you for your testosterone levels, and if they get under 300, then you may want to ask about a testosterone treatment.
Yeah, I mean, every 6 months I'll go in, they'll do my blood work, make sure that we're staying. And I tell you, it was such a relief to me, Eddie. As you know, as a mental health advocate and teaching law enforcement, helping families care for a loved one with serious mental illness, I thought I was coming down with depression, clinical depression.
Yeah. And
doctors say, hey, let's check this. Ends up, low testosterone can mimic a low-grade depression. Like, thank God, because believe me, you think giving yourself a shot is a hassle, you don't want to be messing with psychotropic drugs.
Yeah, no.
No.
Yeah, you'll sleep better. You just feel better. It just...
for me, more energy. Mm-hmm. I would hardly put in half
That's probably why you sleep better, because you have more energy, and that needs more sleep, more rest, and makes you sleep better in there. So.
Last night I went to bed at 8 o'clock. And I got up at 8:30 this morning. Wow. I was that exhausted. Well, part of it's the workload I'm doing right now.
By the way, which reminds me, speaking of yesterday, I got to go. My wife and I attended the OU game. And, boy, it was a weird game. They took off, looked like it was going to be a blowout. Then TCU comes back. Mm-hmm. Looked like they were going to come back, came back within like 14 points. Mm-hmm. And then OU just took off again and made it pretty much a blowout. So then OU's hoping that my alma mater.
Yeah, there were a lot of OU fans who were cheering for the Tech Red Raiders.
Yeah, and man, that was a weird game because it seemed closer than the blowout score. It's because like Tech kept like pushing and intercepting and like drives that looked hopeful, and then they would just blow it. Like they'd get inside the red zone and then wouldn't do anything. They would either have to, get a penalty, take them out of field goal range or this or out of, and then have fourth down or fumble or do something, and so many times it was just ridiculous. It was just the weird. I quit watching. I said, I forget you guys.
Yeah.
Myself.
So now help me out with the math.
Yeah. So now, if OSU wins, OSU's in.
OSU and Texas. Now, that's who
right.
Red Raiders are playing. Texas had a game lead on everybody else.
Yeah, if Texas had lost, it would be OU and OSU if OSU wins. Because Texas would have the 2 losses, but OU would have beaten Texas, so they would have gotten to play because OU beat Texas.
Yeah.
So now, if OSU wins, though, because OSU beat OU, they get to play Texas.
Okay, so now OSU this year didn't play Texas, right?
Mm.
Yeah. And I'm saying your Tech Red Raiders didn't play OU either.
Or OSU.
Yeah, didn't play either of our state schools, and that's because of this weird 1-year 14-team league.
Right.
So if we, what I can't figure out is, let's say this weekend OU, OSU both win. If Texas had lost, then you'd have 3-way tie at 10-2, right? Or the more important thing is the conference deal.
Right.
Would have been 8-2, is it?
Right.
Or 7-2.
7-2.
7-2. So how does OSU win the tiebreaker over Texas in that scenario? Because they didn't play each other.
No. Which tiebreaker are you talking about?
Well, if those 3 are tied,
right?
Okay, Texas, OU, OSU. You said OU gets in because they beat Texas. Right. How does OSU get in? Sure, they beat OU, but how do you decide?
Well, that's how they get in, because they beat OU.
Yeah, but how do you decide between Texas and...
Well, we don't have to, because we know Texas is in.
I'm saying if Texas had lost and it gone to
if they had lost, well, then I don't know. That would have been.
But somehow you'd heard that would have changed it for OU.
If Tech had won.
If Tech had beat Texas.
Yeah, if Tech had beat Texas, then I think then, let's see. If Tech had beat Texas, then I think it would have been OU and OSU again.
Yeah.
I don't know how or why. But
interesting deal. But next year this won't be an issue.
No, it won't be an issue because they'll be gone. Texas and OU will be gone.
And that's where we're looking at how do we organize a new 12-man or 12-team Big 12. I'm hoping we go to the district scenario.
It won't be a Big 12, though, will it? Because there's 16 teams right now, aren't there?
There will be 16 teams, and I want to see us go into 4 divisions, so that you play your 3 division opponents.
I don't think they're going to do that, though.
I know.
They're just going to stay at where by them, like the Big Ten does. They don't play everybody, and neither does the SEC.
Well, the Big Ten's getting rid of the East-West. The SEC's getting rid of the East-West.
Oh, they are?
What I'm hearing.
Well, I don't know.
And so it's just going to be a crapshoot of a lottery pick of opponents then.
Well, wait a minute. They're getting rid of the East-West, but they're still not playing all of them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, once you go beyond 12 teams, you can't.
Well, yeah, but why? No, I understand, but why are they getting rid of the East-West?
I just heard that they are.
Okay.
Now, imagine the Big Ten. You've got this powerhouse of Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State that could beat anyone on the west half.
Well, yeah, they just need to reshuffle it. They need to, it should still be an East-West because Ohio is east of west, so they should have Michigan on the west and Ohio on the east, of course. And then you've got Wisconsin's usually pretty good.
Yeah.
So you got Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa on the west, which are good teams, and you're going to have USC and UCLA now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just...
Oregon and Washington.
Right.
That's going to be a tough...
I know.
The West may be tougher than the East
Yes. Yeah, but see, then you're basing the format on how historically strong the schools are, how you divide it up.
But you can reshuffle. I mean, they can reshuffle, do a test.
I know, but to me, that's a mess. What I'm saying is, everything I'm hearing is they all like the way the Big 12's doing it, with the top 2 teams go into the championship game.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And the Pac-12, I think, is doing it that way already.
Yeah.
Like this year, it'll be Washington and Oregon are playing each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Utah
and
was
USC did it last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, they played.
And so what I'm saying is, the reason I like the format I had is because you foster local rivalries and you keep the travel at a minimum. If you're playing the 3 other teams in your division, and then you play half the teams in the other 3 division, you're only doing 3 travel dates that are outside of your local area. Mm-hmm. And then you still put the top 2 teams in a championship game, 1 game. You just allow for a division level rivalry, and somebody can hang the banner that we're division champs just because we beat the other 3 teams, but you still do just the 1 game playoff, the top 2 records in the division play. That's what I would like to do. And I've had some of the top podcasters in the Big 12 argue the pros and cons. One of them, he didn't like it because it wasn't his idea. And another guy liked it and claimed it was his idea long before I published it and sent it to him.
Right.
So, but hey, it's football. I'm actually sad to see it transitioning now to the bowl series, because I like the conference play, where anything can happen. And boy, Big 12, the parity. I mean, beating a Kansas school or beating Iowa State, they're always up for that game.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people joke that the reason why OU is leaving the Big 12 is they can't stand being humiliated by Kansas State again.
Or Iowa State.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 that always do it, yeah. And Kansas seems to give Texas fits every year.
Yeah, and I do want to say something about, let's say right now, who is it? Liberty University has got a good record. There's a couple others, particularly good records, and I like what Lou Holtz said. There's no way to compare some minor conference or independent going undefeated and comparing that with somebody who's in a Power 5 conference who every week gets beat up by the highest class of opponent. The enduring every week that level. It's apples and oranges.
Yeah.
So, and remember, for a long time, Boise State was that superstar team in a lousy conference.
Right. Right.
So anyway, so you're thinking we're probably going to see today OSU beating BYU because it's a home game.
I'm not saying that. I don't know if OSU doesn't play better. Last week was just terrible. The way they came out, and I think what happened last week, I think they got a little over their skis. They, because they had the big win the week before.
Well, actually, no, it was 2 weeks before beating OU, and then they got humiliated at Central Florida.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
Yeah, and then Houston, it was looking like a repeat.
Right. So yeah, that's right. That's what it was.
But they turned it around.
That far ago, man. My
You've been traveling.
My clock. Yeah,
you've been traveling a lot.
Oh, thanks.
So, I think they should, on paper, they should beat BYU.
Yeah.
And then it's...
And my apologies to everyone on behalf of Texas Tech for all the OU fans that they didn't do better, that they didn't beat Texas. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. It was, I couldn't even watch then. I just said, forget it. Yeah.
Personally, Texas just is too powerful, too deep of a team. I think if it goes to OSU, Texas in championship game, I think Texas wins.
Yeah, I'm afraid. I think so too. Although you never know, OSU can suck it up and do it. But I have to say I'm pulling for OSU, but I too kind of would like to see an OU Texas rematch.
Yeah, that's true.
OU's weakness, though, we saw it yesterday. Defense.
Yeah.
I'm afraid they looked a little like USC.
Yeah.
They've got a good offense, but their defense is a little suspect.
Yeah, it reminded me of the Baker Mayfield days when we still had Mike Stoops being defensive coordinator. He was just awful.
Which is weird because Venable's supposed to be the defensive guy.
Yeah.
And but I think he's too focused on the offense.
Yeah.
He needs to get a good. I'll tell you what I think is part of the problem. It seems to have happened ever since they got rid of Gundy, which was another discussion.
Mike Gundy's brother, Cale
Gundy. Ever since they got rid of Cale Gundy,
and that was on some political correctness.
It was ridiculous. It was stupid.
Yep.
That's for another discussion. We better wrap it up. We've been here 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's
a
new record, new personal record. Hey guys, thank you for tuning in. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We're heading into Christmas season now, so write us at Fresh Black Coffee at gmail.com or freshblack.coffee is where you can always find us on Saturdays or whatever day of the week it might be. And we'll have this up on Facebook, I guess.
It's live.
Right now.
Yeah.
And thank you again, and God bless you. Wrong one. You want to do it again?